Hey everybody, it's Mrs. Smith, and I want to say I miss you guys so much. I miss your sweet smiles. I miss your high fives, your fist bumps, and mostly your hugs. I can't wait to see you guys again. I hope everybody is doing well. I hope you're reading some every day and writing some every day and learning something new every day. I'm reading a book. I think I've already shared this with you guys quickly, but this is one of my favorite books. I'm in the middle of a series, and it's a detective story, and I love, mysteries and detective stories, and I can't wait to hear all about what you guys have read over this extended break that we've had when we get back to school in the fall. Um, okay, so I'm here to share some enrichment activities that the advanced academic resource teachers have shared with the schools, and hopefully that's been shared with you already. And if it hasn't, if you don't have that link yet or that resource, you're free to email me. My email is nsmith2@mnps.org, and that would be nsmith, the number 2, at mnps.org. You can just email me. I'll help you if you have any questions or concerns, and I'll be happy to send you that link if you haven't gotten it or if it's been deleted by accident or who knows. Just reach out to me and I'm happy to help. Okay, so about these digital resources that we've created, they're optional. Keep that in mind. They are not mandatory. They're just some fun and engaging resources to add to your child's learning while you're home working with your children. And I'd like to explain, first of all, how the digital resource page is set up. You'll see a list of digital resources appropriate for grades kindergarten through 8th grade. So if you have children of varying ages, be sure to check it out because there are a lot of really fun things on there. And there'll be the name of the resource, and it'll have the grade that it's appropriate for or the grade range, and then it'll have what it mostly focuses on, whether that's language arts or mathematics or science. So you can think about your children and what their interests are, and then choose those activities, if you wish, that they might enjoy the most. And feel free to, like, for example, I know we have some really sharp 3rd and 4th graders that are interested in science. So if your child is in 3rd and 4th grade, but they excel at science, they're really interested in science, there are some amazing middle school activities that I'm sure they're welcome to use. So you don't have to stick with just your child's grade level. You can go back, you can go forward, and just check out, what's there and what you think they might enjoy the most. Okay, so I'm going to share a resource today. Oh, by the way, one more thing. Each resource also has, when you click on it, it should have directions on how to use that resource for you to make it nice and simple. So it just makes it easier for you to use. So I'm going to focus on the digital resource titled A Poem a Day. That's the resource that I created, and it's for all kids from kindergarten through 4th grade. I've taught kindergarten, 2nd grade, 3rd grade, and 5th grade, and I've always used poems, especially by the author that I'm going to talk about in a minute. They just love his poetry. So and they can all be adjusted. So if it's K through 4, so like if you're sharing it with your students, you can kind of make it easier for some and make it harder for some. It's super easy to do as a parent. Just kind of, adjust it as you see fit for your own child. So I chose Poem a Day because April is National Poetry Month, and I created this resource because I also love poetry, and I love poems myself, and I feel like it's a way to sort of reflect on things, and I like the way it plays with words, and poems are often uplifting. Sorry, my cat is scratching herself. All right, so the author that I chose to use for my Poem a Day resources is Shel Silverstein. He is my favorite children's author. He wrote The Giving Tree, which is also my favorite children's book. But if any of you are familiar with Shel Silverstein, then you also know that he was a poet, and he had several books of poetry, including A Light in the Attic and Everything on It. And there's his picture right there, and on the back of this one. He's a great guy, super creative, multi-talented. He was a musician. He played lots of different instruments. He was a songwriter. He illustrates all of his books. He's got a unique style of illustrating, and so kids have always they just love everything he writes. So I highly recommend getting those books if you get a chance to do so. but I've shared some of his resources online, and we're going to talk about how best to use those. All right. So, if you clicked on the resource of Poem a Day, you'll see it's day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, day 5. So it kind of goes over 5 days. If you click on day 1, then you'll see how to use this resource, and you'll see a table that has questions on there that anytime you read a poem, you can ask those questions. And it looks kind of like this. If you can read that, I hope that's not backwards, but if it is, I can tell you it has questions on it that says like, which words feel important? Read the poem again and emphasize those words. I think these words are important because they make me feel. I visualize. So these are just some quick questions you can ask your children as you're reading his poetry. And so each day includes 1 or 2 poems, and I'm going to go over one poem today. It's the poem from day 1, and it is in his book Where the Sidewalk Ends, which is one of his books that I don't actually have at home. I have it at my schools. So I'm going to read the poem just as you would if you were going to read it to your child. And if one of your kiddos listening, you're going to like it. So I'm going to read the poem and then share some activities that you can share with your child if you were to click on this resource. So here's the poem. It's called 1 Inch Tall. If you were only 1 inch tall, you'd ride a worm to school. The teardrop of a crying ant would be your swimming pool. A crumb of cake would be a feast and last you 7 days at least. A flea would be a frightening beast if you were 1 inch tall. If you were only 1 inch tall, you'd walk beneath the door, and it would take about a month to get down to the store. A bit of fluff would be your bed. You'd swing upon a spider's thread and wear a thimble on your head if you were 1 inch tall. You'd surf across the kitchen sink upon a stick of gum. You couldn't hug your mama, you'd just have to hug her thumb. You'd run from people's feet in fright. To move a pen would take all night. This poem took 14 years to write, 'cause I'm just 1 inch tall. So that's a really fun poem you can share with your kids. I wish I had the book because there's a cute illustration that goes with it, but I don't have that book. It's at my school. So I also created in there are a lot of activities that you can do with this poem that I've already created. You don't have to think of them. So you can read the poem with your child. You can, if you're lucky enough to have sorry, my cat's sitting on my items over here. If you're lucky enough to have a ruler around your house, I'm so sorry. Shh, hush. If you're lucky enough to have a ruler around your house, that's my dog Duke, then you can use it to measure with and figure out about 1 inch. So I like to say as an adult, it's from my knuckle to the end of my finger. That's about 1 inch. So a ruler works, or just even a measuring tape, or even a paper clip. If you have paper clips around your house, then you can use that as a 1 inch measurement. Give that to your child. You might even have a little toy like a Lego or something that you can give to your child, and you can ask them to find as many things around the house or their room or their yard that are about 1 inch long. You can ask your child to write. This would be for older students. Write what he could do if he were 1 inch tall that he couldn't do now. Or if with younger kids, you can just ask them a question and talk about it. What could he do at home if he were 1 inch tall? Or what could he do at school or outside if they were 1 inch tall? How about 2 inches? What could they do if they were 2 inches or 6 inches? So you can show them ever increasing links and have them tell you what they could do if they were that tall. And then you could talk about things that you wouldn't be able to do if you were 1 or 6 or 10 inches or whatever tall. Your child could write their own poems from a different point of view. For example, if I were 10 feet tall, you could or just a story if they were too scared to write a poem or didn't understand how to write a poem or didn't quite get it just yet. You could have them write a story. If you were 10 feet tall, what could you do? Or if you were 1 mile long, what could you do? So here's another great activity. You could have your child use things from around the house to build a house for a 1 inch tall person. So they could gather up some items, or in the yard, some moss or some leaves, and they could build a house for a little 1 inch tall person. And what would that look like? What would they want in their house if they were 1 inch tall? So little ones, kindergarten through first grade, might not be familiar yet with units of measurement. So this would be a wonderful introduction to them, because usually when we teach units of measurement around second grade, we start with 1 inch. And so that would be a great way to sort of introduce your younger child to units of measurement. So when they get to second grade, or when they learn that in school, they'll be like, hey, I already know a little bit about this. And the older kids already know it, but of course they love the poem because it's silly and fun. And it's a great way to get them to get creative and think outside the box. And another thing you could do is you could have your child memorize little pieces of the poem and share that with friends and family online. Or you could have them copy the poem and then illustrate it and then hang it up. It might be nice to put on the wall, their wall. So anyway, that's one resource that you have at your fingertips in the digital resources that Mrs. Thorpe Page has shared with you. So I'm hopefully going to come back on next week and share another resource. So please give those a look. And if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to me, nsmith2@mnps.org. I'm here for any questions that you have. Also, you can get online and go to shelsilverstein.com. There are a lot of other really great poems and ideas there. I didn't get these ideas from there, but there are a lot of other activities there, especially if you have a printer that you can print out and share with your child. He's always fun. Kids love him. So remember, boys and girls, if you're listening, to keep reading every day, write some every day, and also learn something new every day while you're home. And I can't wait to see you guys again this fall. All right, love you guys. Have a great week.